We spend so much of our lives being told to chase success, right? Get the status, get the possessions. But what if that whole chase is the very thing that's the source of all our anxiety? Today, we're going to explore a totally different path, one that takes us from that frantic, exhausting race to a really deep sense of inner vitality. So let's just start with a really big question. I want you to think for a second about everything you consider yours. Your house, your car, your money, even your achievements. When you boil it all down, what do you actually truly own? The answer, and this might sound a little strange, is basically nothing, except for the one single thing that can never, ever be taken away from you, and that's yourself. Okay, so if we're going to get to the bottom of what we truly own, first we have to take apart this huge illusion that we all live with, and that is the illusion of ownership itself. See, when you think about it, things like money or a deed to a house, they aren't real in the same way a rock is real. They're just collective agreements we've all made. They're basically social contracts. And if, for some reason, all of us decided to stop believing in those agreements tomorrow, poof, our claims to ownership would just disappear right along with them. And that brings us to a really important distinction, right? If all that external stuff is just based on agreements, then true ownership, it has to be internal. It's the collection of all your memories, your unique experiences, the thoughts you have. I mean, just think about that for a second. That's the one piece of territory that is 100%, unshakably, undeniably yours. Nobody can touch that. But what happens when we lose touch with that inner core? When we start to neglect our true self? Well, that's when the real trouble starts. Because when we ignore our own inner world, that unique part of us, it doesn't just hang around waiting. It starts to fade, and a kind of void, a deep emptiness, opens up in its place. It leaves us with this hollow feeling, a real lack of meaning. And this is where things get really interesting, because we're faced with a choice. To fill that void, we've got two options. We can either create meaning from the inside out, letting it flow from who we really are, or we can seek it on the outside, chasing after other people's values, looking for their approval. But here's the kicker. That second path, it actually just leaves that void feeling even bigger and emptier than before. So, what rushes in to fill that empty space then? Well, this is where the antagonist of our story shows up, a really deep and powerful anxiety. And listen, we're not just talking about being stressed about work or bills. This is something else. This is existential anxiety. It's that profound feeling of being completely lost, like you're trapped in this frantic, desperate race against the clock of your own life. That constant pressure that you have to prove something, do something, before it's all over. This cycle here really breaks it down perfectly. It all kicks off with step one, that simple, totally human realization that our time here is limited, it's finite, and that awareness, it triggers step two, this frantic, internal race to achieve something. Anything, really, to make our mark and prove we were here. Which, of course, leads us right to step three, where all our choices start being guided not by wisdom, but by this deep, nagging fear of running out of time. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We start making decisions not to live a fuller life, but just to run away from the idea of it all ending. We end up sacrificing who we really are, chasing that external approval, all in this desperate attempt just to be remembered. But then, right in the middle of all that frantic running, something can happen. A moment of quiet realization is possible. And this, right here, is the major turning point of this whole journey. And the realization itself, it's so profoundly simple. There is no race. There never was one. That starting gun we thought we heard, it was just an illusion. This is that moment of awakening. It's the understanding that the key to creating a meaningful life, it wasn't out there somewhere for you to find or to win. It's been inside you this whole time, just waiting to be unlocked. And once you get that, your whole perception of the end completely changes. That finish line, it stops being this terrifying threat that you have to outrun. You realize it's just a natural, inevitable part of being alive. And you know what? In that acceptance, there's an incredible amount of peace. So what comes next after this awakening? Well, we enter the final phase of the journey, a life that isn't defined by anxiety anymore, but by a real, authentic sense of vitality. And this is what that life of vitality actually looks like. It's a total, fundamental shift. Instead of chasing meaning, meaning just becomes a quality of who you are. You start acting from a place of inner abundance and energy, not fear. And the best part? Because you're not desperately seeking validation from the outside anymore, you can genuinely help others grow without needing anything back from them. And here's the really beautiful part. It only takes one person living from this place of authentic meaning to light up their little corner of the world. It's not about forcing it on people or preaching. It happens just by being. That kind of vitality, it's contagious. But, and this is so important, you have to remember this journey can't be forced on anyone. This quote really says it all. It is a deeply personal path. Every single person has to see it for themselves, ask the questions for themselves, and ultimately blossom for themselves, in their own way and in their own time. So, if there's one big takeaway here, it's this. Embracing your true individuality, that's not the end of the journey. That's the beginning. It's the starting line for a life of calm, centered, and truly powerful meaning that you create from the inside out. And all of this leaves us with one final, and I think essential question. And it's not for me to answer, it's for you. Now that you know the source of meaning has been inside you all along, where are you going to start creating yours?